A very warm welcome to the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show. And today's show is Earning My Spurs, which captures the life of a former English professional footballer and manager who played either at centre-back or full-back. During his playing career, he made a total of 455 appearances in the English Football League for Crystal Palace, Queen's Park Rangers, Tottenham Hotspur, Leicester City and Swindon Town. He also made 20 appearances for the England national football team from 1984 to 1988 and represented England at the 1986 FIFA World Cup finals in Mexico. He began his managerial career in the mid-1990s with Portsmouth Football Club from 1995 to 1998. He later had executive and managerial stints at Southall, Ashford Town and Northampton Town. And since the early 2000s, he has primarily managed in Trinidad and Tobago, where he has been in charge of San Juan Jablatek on 3 occasions, I hope I pronounced that right, Central, and the Trinidad and Tobago national team. Yes, folks, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome on the show Terry Fenwick. Welcome to the show, Terry.
It's an absolute pleasure. Lovely to see you and get involved in your podcast. I've been looking at this for quite a while myself. It's brilliant. I love what you do. Love the way you push this out. So it's my pleasure to be here.
And it's an absolute honour for me to have you on as well, Terry. We've had some good shows in the past, but everyone I look to make better. So let's drive this one and create a successful podcast. I mean, you began your football career, as a youth player at Crystal Palace, where you were part of the team that won the FA Youth Cup in both 1977 and 1978, and notably scoring the only goal in each final in 2 1-0 wins over Everton and Aston Villa, respectively. I mean, please tell us more about these early successes at Crystal Palace.
Well, this goes back a long time, obviously, and recognise that at the time we had a guy that was a genius in football. This was Malcolm Allison.
Oh, yes.
He put together, this was him out of the back of Manchester City coming to Crystal Palace in the 3rd division at the time. He brought together a fantastic coaching squad, which was Terry Venables, Alan Harris, John Cartwright. And pretty much what they'd done screening sessions all over Great Britain, looking for the best talent across the board. And that same Crystal Palace youth team that I was in had people like Kenny Sanson, Peter Nicholas, Jerry Murphys, Paul Walsh. We had some fantastic players that came through. And out of that same youth squad, 7 or 8 of the starting team become full internationals. Yeah. So that recognition for the work that Malcolm done behind the scenes and his staff, Malcolm unfortunately didn't last too long there, but Terry Venables took up the mantle. And because of the fantastic coaching job that John Cartwright did at youth levels, my God, we were being pushed around as the team of the 80s with that fantastic young squad of players, promotion from 3rd to 2nd, 2nd to 1st division. Great times, great place to be, and some wonderful players that I came up with.
Absolutely right. And you quite rightly talk greatly about Malcolm Allison. What a fantastic man he was. I mean, a great player too at West Ham too, wasn't he? He had some over 250 appearances, I think, there. And his managerial skill sets and his tactical awareness was absolutely fantastic. Of course, and he was a big man too, wasn't he? On and off the pitch, great big character, Mal. Big Mal. And I did put a picture out for him actually earlier on this week, just on Facebook, just to recognise the great man himself, because I really do remember him as a youngster myself as well, with his Crystal Palace sides. Fantastic. What a man. I mean, you signed professional terms with Crystal Palace in December 1976 and made your league debut away to Tottenham Hotspur, I think in December 1977. And he went on to make 10 appearances that season. So tell us more about your first team appearance for Crystal Palace at White Hart Lane, and of course, against a top club that you would eventually sign for, but more about that later in the show. So what about your first team debut, Terry, at White Hart Lane?
Well, I think it was one of them. We were brought up through John Cartwright's development. So we were taught how to manage wherever you landed in the field, you'd be able to handle it because of the coaching that we'd had. And Terry, who was manager at the time, Terry Venables, pushed me into the team. My God, I was up against some of the world's best at the time. Glenn Hoddle's in there playing against us, the Steve Perrimans, Archibalds. This was a wonderful Tottenham Hotspur team. And I'm looking around at these superstars, and it was like a kick up the backside. Terry, get in there, get on with it, boom. And we got an unbelievable 2-2 draw away from home, White Hart Lane. That was something fantastic for us. What a boost to everyone's confidence. Terry was a tactical genius. We outdone them in a lot of areas, not because we had better players. They had world-class players on their team, but we were very well organised, and that was pretty much my upbringing. You know, we through John Cartwright, Terry Venables, Malcolm Allison before them, everything was structured, everything was organised. It was very detailed. How we moved forward, it was fantastic.
What an amazing experience. And to walk out on the famous White Hart pitch as well, White Hart Lane pitch for your debut, that's something. What an atmosphere that ground used to generate.
Yeah.
And with a fantastic Crystal Palace following, I'm sure that was amazing too. 2 goals.
Well, that's right. I mean, you know, we hadn't played against them. We'd been down the divisions. This was coming back, and, you know, across the board, the press were covering us as the team of the 80s. They were seeing the youngsters coming through. My God, Kenny Sanson, what a player. Brilliant player. Peter Nicholas, Jerry Murphy, Billy Gilberts. These guys were legends in youth football.
Definitely.
Legends. And then they went, Kenny, I think, over 80 appearances for England. I believe Peter Nicholas was the second or third highest cap winner in for Wales. Some wonderful players there. And we all got on great. We were from all over Great Britain. Nico from down in Wales. We had 1 or 2 lads that joined us from Scotland, Ireland, Jerry Murphy, my God, another great player. So it was one of them sort of playing against a top team like Tottenham Hotspur with all of these stars in. It raised our standard, it raised our game. Our intensity on the training ground that week was unbelievable. And that it still sticks in my mind now, how Terry was generating that energy. So we were blown away. When we started the game, the intensity was incredible.
Yeah, I can imagine, actually. And you won as well under the leadership of Terry Venables, of course, the second division championship at Crystal Palace in 1979. I mean, tell us more about that championship win its season, because that's a major prize to have as well, isn't it? Promotion to what was then the old first division.
I mean, when you look at it as the championship as we know it today,
yes,
is so competitive. Everybody at the time wanted to be in the Division 1, Premier League is today. Everyone wants to be up there. The British game was all over the world. The FA Cup at the time was the biggest cup competition in world sport. It was brilliant. And we, home and away, we had no fear. And that was because of the coaching manual from Terry Venables, Malcolm Allison. We went everywhere to win. And, you know, I still look back and I think Malcolm Allison never became England manager. And probably because he was so outspoken, he was so different, he was against the run of play for everybody else, all the other clubs. But that's what made him the genius that he was. That's why Man City won the Division 1 championship, I think once or twice under Malcolm. Brilliant. And then that was just passed down with Terry Venables. And I think that was a great partnership, Terry and Malcolm, because they rubbed off each other perfectly. And then as Terry went on in his managerial career, what a genius, what a great man, what a great coach. Technically, he was fantastic. But more than anything, his man management, he got into everybody's minds. Everyone loved him. We put our lives on the line for Terry. And things went from, good to brilliant to like, wow, the world's your oyster,
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Terry. I mean, Malcolm Allison should have been England manager. But as we know, the FA had made some terrible choices going back over the years with England. We've had other managers as well, of course. Brian Clough, equally as brilliant, as tactically aware.
Absolutely. Well, that's a funny story. Clough, was my England under-17 coach.
Really?
Partnership with a guy called Burton.
Yes.
Um, and my God, we went to a meeting in 10 Downing Street to meet Maggie Thatcher. and Cloughy walked around, Brian Clough walked around the room, and he threw out all the FA's top directors, threw them all out. This is not for you. This is the players, myself and Mr. Burton. Everybody else leave the room. He threw them all out.
What's a story?
Without, within the week, they fired him from his job.
Oh,
It was incredible. But that was Cloughy. That was what he was about. He was very outspoken. He wanted the Prime Minister to meet the young players, not all the backroom staff.
yes.
Meet the youngsters, see the people that count. And
quite rightly so too. I mean, what did Margaret Thatcher say at the time, Terry? She must have smiled or made a comment, I'm sure.
well, she was obviously Cloughy. There wasn't anybody bigger than him at the time.
No.
Again, everyone's asking the hierarchy at the FA, why is he not involved with national football? He's winning European Cups. He's brought clubs like Nottingham Forest and Derby through to win the Division 1 title. So he done some unbelievable things. And this was just Cloughy's man management. He wasn't a coach at all. He used to walk around the field and watch the players training under a coach. His job, his whole demeanour was about man management. So you would get a knock on the door late at night, open the door, and it's Brian Clough. Oh, yeah, come in, can I have a cup of tea, sit yourself down, have a chat. This was how this guy come across and put himself, my God, again, people would put themselves on the line to die for him. And at international level, again, the FA were very strict and everything. They moved away from the Cloughys and Malcolm Allisons of this world that were cutting on and above the rest. But they were worried about them. They didn't want to be exposed themselves. I think that's why they kept everything tight.
Sounds right to me as well. Absolutely. So, some great stories there. Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, what a lovely lady too. That's fantastic.
Oh, my God, yes.
Powerful
Coming
woman.
to the northeast of England, we went through the miners' strike.
Yes.
My dad was the chairman of Durham County Council. And it was crazy because I moved as a 15-year-old, 15 and a half, when I moved from the northeast of England, little mining village, Seaham Harbour in the northeast, down to London. And yes, I was very homesick for the first 6-8 weeks.
Sure
till I got used to it. But the change and the difference of living in London was just amazing.
Yes.
Such a different change up. And I learned a lot from some fantastic people. Again, the same coaches were wonderful. Terry was out of this world. And Crystal Palace at the time was a wonderful up-and-coming club with all of these good, young, talented players.
Absolutely. They had some great sides. As I said earlier on, I do remember the Malcolm Allison sides. They were just fantastic. And to watch him walk out onto the pitch as well, he was bigger than the team, really, wasn't he? He had his fedora hat on, big Havana cigar, overcoat during the winter. He exuded confidence and style, didn't he? He really did.
Well, if you remember, he took the same Crystal Palace to the quarters or semi-finals of the FA Cup. They played Sunderland away from home, and Malcolm Allison done something I'd never seen before. Before the game kicked off, he walked round the whole field and he terrorised the crowd. And this was a big Sunderland crowd that always got behind their team, huge crowd, and he took the sting out of them. He had them all singing and shouting and screaming at him. So by the time kickoff came around, they quietened down, said, "I'm watch again." Palace won 1-0. Third division Palace beat first division Sunderland 1-0 to go on to the next. They got beat against Chelsea in the semis, I think it was. But that was amazing for a third division club.
Absolutely, quite incredible, and the sort of thing you'd expect from Malcolm Allison, really.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, that Roker Park had the Roker Roar, didn't it, Terry? That big stand at one end.
Oh, that's it.
Boom, some noise down there, hit the pitch and up it came again. And for Malcolm Allison to destroy that, well, that's some man.
Oh, yeah. That was I looked at it and it wasn't until after the game when Palace won I'd recognised what he actually did there.
Fantastic.
It wasn't for him. This was him taking the sting out of the crowd for his players to settle into the game quicker than they would normally, and under this crowd. Brilliant stuff.
Brilliant stuff indeed. And this is an interesting one too. During the 3 seasons you had at Crystal Palace, as a first team regular, you wore 8 different numbered shirts. This at a time when, you know, shirts, really shirt numbers equated more to the playing position, as we know. I mean, did you wear the number 1, Terry? I can't imagine you as a goalkeeper. Please tell us more. That's something, isn't it? 8 different numbers.
Well, again, I would have to put this down to John Cartwright and Terry after that, because I played at centre forward. I played every position in midfield. I played fullback, centre back. I was so comfortable anywhere on the field on the ball that I quite often, and I think I would have had much more appearances if I'd had one specific position. But I used to fill in areas where we were weak. They would push me into area, right wing, left wing, centre forward. I played for Crystal Palace once, and I'm thinking, my God, what am I doing here? But I was one of them players that would get on with it.
Oh, yeah. Versatility. And it also means you get a game every week.
Yeah.
So that's good too.
Well, it was, you know, Terry and John Cartwright were just amazing. And the skill sets they taught me, how to shield the ball, how to control the ball, you know, what sort of vision, what pass I should be looking at. And again, everything was like dynamic on the training ground. So putting that into a team, you know, you said it, I went through the England youth sides. We were the first under 21 team to win the European Championships for England. And that was, you know, lots of Crystal Palace players in there because of the guidance we've had, first from Malcolm, Terry, John Cartwright, was just, and I wonder now, has England got any more real top coaches like them guys that we just mentioned?
Do you know what? I don't think there are, Terry.
No, I tend to agree.
Many a discussion in with various people, actually, usually at the bar somewhere, around these episodes, and no one. We can't think of anybody. It's a shame, isn't it?
Well, you see,
English football.
The game is changing so much now, and you know, here I am out in the Caribbean. We're in CONCACAF region.
Yes,
brings in the USA, Canada. The USA, all of their sports are wrapped up in stats. And even now, if you look at the USA national team, all of their players, very young side, very good side, all of them are playing in Europe.
Yes, they are.
But you look at what they're doing on the ground. They're throwing loads of money into the development of the game, men's and women in the US. US women are already world champions several times. The team are coming around, the men's national side in the US coming because they've put lots of time and energy, money into it. They've got the World Cup 2026, Canada, USA, Mexico.
They have.
Their average age at the moment is 22. Captain is 23. They're building up for that cup, that World Cup 26. They're going to be ready.
They'll be all be good prime ages, won't they, by the time they enter the World Cup? They'll be around 25, 26.
Yes, yeah. But I think this has had a big impact on world football because look where we are now. We've got VAR. And as much as I love VAR in the beginning, as it's wearing on, some of the decisions, I'm sat there watching the television thinking, nah, that wasn't right. That's offside. This is that. And you see, we're relating to referees who were taking forever to make decisions. When I know that I'm watching the same TV and the panel, them footballers on the panel will name it straight away, bang, done, and they'll be right. Why haven't we got more footballers involved behind the scenes to quicken the decisions up and ensure that these decisions are right?
Something needs to happen, doesn't it? I mean, Keith Hackett has got a problem with this as well. I had Keith on the show the other week, and you know, he's a real exponent, isn't he? Of
he's a good lad, Keith. I know I listen to him as well. Yes,
lovely man. Yeah, great man, superb man, great footballing man, and a genius as a referee too. And so this VAR really does cause me some problems as well, and you know, it's in danger of destroying football as we know it, really, isn't it? To be honest,
I agree. You see, behind the scenes now, footballers, my God, you've just said, Terry, you've played in so many different positions around the field.
Yeah.
these kids that are in these development programs today are right back, are left back, they're left wing, they're centre forwards. They're specifically designed for that one position
Mm.
forward, which, I'm looking at that and I'm asking myself, will we see another Pele, Diego Maradona, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo? I don't think so, because these kids now, when they're 12, 13,
Yes.
they're already polished into positions moving forward.
It's almost too
It's,
regimented, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, very regimental. You're right.
That's sad for football. You should.
It's bad, yeah, but I love the way the game is played. I like it's not as physical as it was back in the day.
Mm.
I enjoy it, but I just Messi, what a great player,
Oh,
Cristiano Ronaldo.
awesome
And I
players.
look at these and I think I'm not seeing any of them around anymore. And the
Exactly.
young kids that have got that ability to be the next star, they're being pulled out of the team because their stats don't line up. They're not producing this. Their physical effort is not as big as what it could have been, or other players. So somebody that's just down the middle keeps on doing exactly what the coach wants.
Yes.
Will end up there first. Yeah.
That's a bad way of managing, isn't it? Players at a young age, because they're all different. They all have different techniques and styles. Yeah, you can teach them technique and all those sort of ball skills and things, but they have a natural
Yeah.
ability. You've got to let them ride with that, haven't you? Surely.
Well, one of my ex goalkeeping coaches,
Mm.
um, his son has just got a 2-year contract at Tottenham Hotspur,
Yes.
and he's 12. He's 12. The kid's 12.
Yeah. That's
And he's obviously, it's like his dad, a big lump, going to be a good goalkeeper. His father was a great keeper and a great goalkeeping coach in Trinidad and Tobago. But that tells me when kids of 12-year-old are now in systems development programs,
mm.
they're being polished very, very early now.
There we are indeed. Well, we'll see what happens. So what happens with the game, Terry, I suppose, as we move forward with these structured
So it moves
systems.
forward. Yeah.
Oh, but then in December 1980, as Crystal Palace looked set for relegation, you rejoined former Crystal Palace manager, your friend, of course, Terry Venables, at Queen's Park Rangers. And I think it's fair to say you had a very special relationship with Terry Venables, bless his heart. So tell us more about, as I say, El Tal, as Terry was affectionately known, with his days in Spain as coach of Barcelona. What a
Well,
gentleman.
as you mentioned his name, he paws are raising. This was not just a great coach,
Mm.
great man. We became big friends. We kept in touch all the while he was in Spain. What people don't know, Terry and I had a conversation just before he left for Barcelona. He wanted me to go with him. And I was actually the player that he came to for recommendations with Gary Lineker,
Wow.
the same Tottenham Hotspur centre forward, God, the Scottish guy. Forget his name for a minute, getting old. But Terry was wonderful man, great
Yeah.
coach. Didn't take any, this is how we're going to play, this is how we're going to be. But he would allow you in the dressing room. We wouldn't speak after any of the games, which is something that I took on from him. When we finished the game, that was it, done. And we wouldn't talk about the game until everybody had settled down. Monday morning, we'd have our meeting before training on a Monday when everybody could give an opinion. And Terry would look at you in the eye. Could you have done this rather than that? And he'd throw it out there amongst the whole squad. So everybody was on the same page as him.
Yes.
This was genius in football at the time. This was probably what the Alex Ferguson's and Wenger's done, with their great sides at Man United and Arsenal. But Terry was not just a great coach, he was great off the field. That man management, I think, was what was a cut above the rest. Brilliant.
Yeah.
We all reacted positively to that.
I definitely agree. Totally agree with that completely. And then you went on to make 256 appearances under Terry Venables at Queen's Park Rangers, I think scoring 33 goals or so. And whilst at Queen's Park Rangers, you became the first fullback to score a goal from open play in an FA Cup final when you equalised against Tottenham Hotspur in 1982 final. I mean, this must have been a sensational moment, Terry, hearing the R's fans roar, lifting the roof off the old Wembley. What a moment.
Yeah. Well, it was the build up to the game again. Terry was brilliant. He had us all on side. We had a game plan to play against this Tottenham team. We played very well. We defended very structured, organised, tight, kept our distances tight. Even at that time, they used to call us granite because we give nothing away. We were very good at the back, strong, very competitive. It wasn't until after the game went back to the hotel and I got into the lift with my mum and I broke down into tears with the emotions of the whole game.
Wow.
Because of the man management of Terry Venables, I went through the whole game, not worried about anything. Player, give us the ball here, confident as you like. Got the goal, turned to the crowd where I knew all of my family were. We got 120 tickets per player for that game, the FA Cup final. And I give all my tickets away to my family in the Northeast. So we had a big Northeast contingent right up there in the stands.
Oh.
I lifted the ball up. I showed it waved it at my family in the crowd, turned to the Queen's Park Rangers fans. We got a draw out of the game, going on to a replayer. And everything was so strong and positive, felt really good about it until I got back to the hotel. And then my young age kicked in, got all emotional, full of tears, out to come. And it was just amazing, that there was a few people, I don't think people will remember, but Clive Allen, he broke down in tears as we were in the tunnel before the game.
Before the game, wow.
Before the game. And Terry had to have a quick look at him. If you remember, he brought Clive Allen off at half time.
He did, yes.
Clive was too emotional before the game. FA Cup final, we were still kids. And Terry centre forward, Clive Allen, like, my God.
Fantastic.
This was one of the youngest teams in the division, and the emotion showed.
Yeah.
And where we rallied around Clive, especially in the first 45 minutes, first half, second half, Terry changed it up, brought him off. And my God, Clive's probably the best finisher as a centre forward I've ever played with.
Incredible
player. This was a guy that wasn't blistering quick where most centre forwards have got to be these days. This guy, with his head, with either foot, he could shift and move the ball, pass it in, smash it in. He was a genius in front of goal. He's goal.
Absolutely.
That's better than anybody I've ever played with. And that's including the Gary Linekers of this world.
And you're right there, because to be able to play left and right foot both feet is an incredible skill to have, natural skill to have. You don't see it too often these days in players. But if you play left and right, you don't know, the defenders don't know which way you're going to go, do they, Terry?
If you see the goal that Clive scored, where he would look to pass it in with his left foot and drag it across his body and his right and then go back again.
Yeah.
He scored some remarkable goals over his career that I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen. And some of them goals were like blow mind. They would be seen as the best goal of the century almost. Some of them were absolutely fantastic. And he had power, he had guidance, he could curl it into top corners. He was a genius finish. Brilliant.
He was indeed. Then in December 1987, you were once again signed by Terry Venables for Tottenham Hotspur. I've got it out this time for a fee of around 550,000, rekindling your friendship with Untold once again. So now 3 clubs playing under the coaching of Terry Venables. A very special relationship, as I mentioned earlier on. And you went on to make some 93 appearances for Spurs, scoring 9 times, mostly from the penalty spot in just one season. I think that was 1988-89. Yeah. So what was your time like at Tottenham Hotspurs, Terry? And are there any interesting stories to enlighten our lives?
Yeah. Can I give you a little update as to how this all happened? Which
Please
was
do.
Great story.
Yes.
So I turned up on a very cold, wet Tuesday morning in November, 87. And Jim Smith, Terry, can I just have a word? Yeah, went into his office. So I've just had a phone call from Graham. What's his name? George Graham.
George Graham.
George Graham, the Arsenal manager, So I'm sat there and almost gobsmacked. Sorry. Now, I knew Judge. Judge was a player and a coach at Crystal Palace.
Yes.
He was a coach at Queen's Park Rangers before he went to Millwall. So George and I were friends. So George wants to meet you at the Target roundabout. There's a pub on the Target roundabout on the A40 on the way heading out of town.
Brilliant.
If you could meet him there at 11 o'clock, he wants to discuss if Arsenal are interested in buying you. So went and had a cup of tea, tried to calm myself down. My God, George, comfortable with George all day long, knew him forever. Went to see him as the new Arsenal manager. But the problem that he made was he took us to a Queen's Park Rangers pub. So George Graham was there before I reached. And when I got there, there was 3 or 4 people. This is 11 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 people. Oh, most of them were staff. Within 20 minutes, there was 75, 80, 100 people coming in the door, all Queen's Park Rangers fans, watching George Graham speak at captain of Queen's Park Rangers, Terry Fenwick. It was unbelievable. And then people lining up outside on the pavement, what's going on here? So, I don't know whether I'm sure you do. You'll remember the old mobile phones, the big brick with the big
yes.
And so I had one of them. And while I'm in the discussion with George, the phone rings. Answer the phone. Who is it? It's Terry Venables. When I answer the phone to Terry, I look up at George. And George looks back at me and he mouths, "Who's that? Is that Terry?" And I've nodded my head. So he knows. So I'm talking to the Arsenal manager across the table. And I've got a new Spurs manager on the line, Terry Fen, he used to call me Fen.
Yeah.
Let's catch up tonight. Where are you? And I've said, I'm with George. I'm having a meeting with George. Oh, okay, fine. I'll leave you to get on with your meeting. Let's meet later on tonight. So, fine. So when I came off the phone, the first thing I had to say to George, I'm going to meet him tonight. You just heard. But I'll not make any decisions until I speak to you first thing tomorrow morning, George, as to how we move forward. And that was just remarkable.
Yes.
Tottenham and Arsenal, 2 friends of mine, managers,
Yes.
both want to sign me, and 2 great people. George was a wonderful person as well, great coach, learned everything through Terry, coming up through Crystal Palace, all of that. So it was like a very difficult decision for me. And I think actually I might have made the wrong decision because Terry. And I went with Terry because Terry is not only top coach, my friend, mentor, all of that. But what I didn't see was the problems and issue that Terry would have in the background with Lord Sugar.
Oh.
That, when you think of the Tottenham Hotspur team that Terry was putting together, we had a front line of Gaza, Lineker, Chris Waddle. That was like world class.
Yes.
Then with front players, the rest of the world were dying to buy. Italy at the time wanted to buy everybody for big money. We had a great team building up. And unfortunately, the rift between Terry and Alan Sugar it spilled into the dressing room and coaching and players. Some of the existing players that had been at Spurs for a while were moving against Terry. Obviously, I was backing Terry all the way. As you remember, that went to a court case. Terry lost the court case. Alan Sugar pulled a few things out of the fire. And it smashed Tottenham.
Yes, it did at the time.
In 91, we won the FA Cup. We were coming around. We were pulling things together. I think we would have been a real force to be reckoned with. And Alan Sugar's attitude was, why can't we be able, like Wimbledon, bring everybody in for cheap? Terry, you do the coaching and then sell them all for big. And Terry wanted to win things.
Of course he did.
And, yes, he did great business on and off the field, Terry, but he wanted his team to have the best players in the best positions to get them performances, get them wins, win leagues, win cups, and get us on track. Absolutely. Alan Sugar, at that time, wanted to earn all of his money through the transfer windows, the transfer market, to bring it in, and it just didn't work with Terry.
No, indeed. And of course, there was a song going around at the time. I still remember it, that the opposing supporters used to sing at Tottenham games, basically saying, "A little bit of sugar makes the Spurs go down." I won't sing it because I'll embarrass myself, but
That's
I do
right, yeah.
remember that. And, a little bit of sugar makes the Spurs go down, the Spurs go down, Spurs go down.
My God, you're
Anyway,
bringing that
oh, that's a memory, isn't it?
one. Yeah.
All good stuff, really. All good, funny, good stuff at the time. And one disappointing moment that springs to mind is you suffered a broken ankle, which ruled you out of the Spurs' victory in the 1991 FA Cup final, which we just mentioned. I mean, what are your feelings, Tay? And of course, how did you break your ankle? That's a disappointment, isn't it?
So we played Tuesday night at Old Trafford against Man United,
Oh,
and that was always a big clash.
yes, indeed.
Up against Mark Hughes, who
Great
could
player.
dish it out as well as I could. But I went to tackle Mark, and my back studs and my left foot stuck in the turf.
Mm.
My body weight coming through the ball and through Mark Hughes,
Oh.
the clap, it just snapped my ankle. And what was worse than that, actually, I was out for 6 weeks. Worked like you wouldn't believe to get back into the team. Went and had a little loan up at Leicester. Came back in for the game at Portsmouth, the Tottenham versus Portsmouth, down at Fratton Park. And what I didn't realise was I had a hairline fracture of the ankle from the original break that the surgeons hadn't seen.
Oh, wow.
So this is, again, 4th of January, freezing cold down in Fratton Park. The pitch was rock solid, hard. And I broke my ankle. It went in the warm-up. So as they're wheeling me out on on the bed there, wheeling me to the ambulance, the crowd are running to get in. They thought the game had kicked off. And there I was, ankle, back into hospital, plaster on my leg for the next 6 weeks again. My God. And of course, that cost me my place
It would do.
in the final further that year.
Yeah, very disappointing. But, that's football, isn't it, really? That's how it goes sometimes.
That's the game. Yeah.
That is the game indeed. You did make one final move, of course, in 1993 when you signed for Swindon Town. At that time, a newly promoted Premier League team. God, I remember that now. Your first season saw Swindon Town winning just 5 games in, I think, 42 matches, conceding 100 goals and being relegated. You played only 2 games the following season for Swindon Town and then was released, and ending your playing career shortly afterwards at that level. A somewhat sad end to an otherwise fantastic career, Terry.
Well, I've got to go through that because this is very interesting. So, Glenn Hoddle was the original. He was the manager before I got there, Swindon Town.
Yes, he was.
His number 2 was a guy called John Gorman. So when I went in there, they were newly promoted but struggling in the old Division 1 there, Premier League. And there was no defensive structure. So this is me, in my early 30s at the time. Everywhere I'd been in my career was with Terry, Malcolm Allison, John Cartwright, all of these top coaches. And their whole basis was on how we defend against the ball and what we do with the ball when we've got it. So there was 2 different levels of coaching. So everybody was on the same page.
Yes.
When I got to Swindon, nobody knew what they were doing defensively. Everybody was out on a limb on their own. So in the dressing room, in front of the manager, why don't we work on this? We should have been getting this right. If we've got a back 4 or back 3, they should know what we're doing together. So it's a proper team performance. And John Gorman hated that. And that's why in the end, they released me. Now, the fans wanted me back because when I was in the team, they could hear me from the sidelines.
Yes.
Trying to get some organisation and structure within the team mechanism.
They do.
To make us difficult to get beat. But we were all over the shop. no coaching, nothing on the training ground. Everything was a laugh and a joke. But hang on, we're conceding 100 goals.
Mm,
Been done before. Why are we letting all these goals in? Because we're not working on things on the training ground.
yes,
And that
exactly.
me being outspoken because of my background with Terry, all of these top coaches. And I didn't want to be rude, but I wanted Swindon to do well.
Of course you
Uh,
did. You're part of the
and
team.
that cost me my job, and off I went.
Yeah, sometimes you're just not in control of the background stuff going on, and you have to wonder why Swindon Town decided to adopt that style of attitude play, where they've just been promoted. It should be.
But what
They
was
should be doing.
interesting, Swindon, not long after that, I was in the running to be Swindon manager.
Right.
They took on Steve McMahon from Liverpool.
Oh,
Then I went to Portsmouth. And within 6 months, we went to Swindon and we played them. We beat them 2-0 at Swindon.
yes.
And that 2-0 relegated Swindon
Ha.
Division 3. This was a
How?
sport second division,
Yes.
relegated them to Division 3. And while I was in the boardroom, the chairman came over, I forget his name, but he said, Terry, I had to come and shake your hand and apologise. We made the wrong decision. You
And you
should have
did.
been, you should have been the manager, and we
Yeah.
should have kept you at the club. And it was such a nice thing from a guy, and it was a lovely club, some great fans, good support. But that's how nitty gritty the game is today.
It is. Yes. You're right.
It's moved in that direction. As I said earlier, it's all stats now. So it doesn't matter what the coach says after the game, the manager, how he explains how he played in that first 45, what he was trying to achieve to get the win in the game. It's all about stats now. And unfortunately, the media and everything have picked up on that. And they're also going very strong on the media front.
They are indeed. I
So,
mean, getting away from the domestic game for a while, you made your international debut for the full England side in May 1984 as a substitute for Alvin Martin at Wrexham. So obviously it was against Wales. So how was your debut for England, Terry? It's a great privilege, isn't it, to play for your country?
well, my God, I had, again, family in that, all in tears.
I can imagine.
There. It was amazing. You know, Sir Bobby Robson, what a wonderful man.
Ah, brilliant.
Didn't hesitate. I was, at the time, playing for Queen's Park Rangers as a second division player, getting me call up for England, doing a good job. We were top of the league by a long way in second division, got promoted very early, and put me on there. Again, I was up against Mark Hughes, so some things never get any easier.
They don't.
But the following weekend, when I started my first game for England, was at Hampden Park against Scotland.
Marvellous. The
And
old firm.
oh my God, that was the atmosphere of that game was incredible. We pulled up outside of Hampden Park, the last 500 yards of the journey in the coach.
Mm.
The coach was going no more than 2 or 3 miles an hour. And more cans of 10 and extra was smashing off the side of the windows. You English buggers, you're this, you're that. You know what the jocks are like. They don't like the English up there, mate.
They don't.
As we got off the coach, Sir Bobby got off first, and there was a 10-yard stretch where you had all of the police cordoned off so we could walk through. Soon as Bobby's foot touched the pavement, that 10 yards went zoom down into 3 feet, and they were trying to slap us on the back of the head as we ran through to get into the dressing room at the way. That is the rivalry England-Scotland.
Oh, of course, yes.
It was unbelievable.
It was. Do you think it's still there now? Because when England played in Scotland, was it
from
last
the
year they
old
won
guard,
3-1?
I think absolutely. I mean, I love. Here I am on the other side of the world, but everybody knows Terry's an Englishman. I'm proud.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody, particularly in the UK, have got that passion, that commitment for their country.
They have.
And not always be in the city centres, but you get out into the sticks and you see how tight we are. we're still together.
I think so. And I can remember going back to the days when George Burley managed Scotland. And of course, he had Terry Butcher, a great Englishman, as his number
Yes,
two. Butch, I'm sure that didn't go down very well, but good old Terry, lovely man. He is a great lad, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And we'll come on to Terry a little bit, actually, in a moment, Terry Butcher. But you did, and you noticed this coming, don't you, Terry? You did represent England in the 1986 FIFA World Cup finals in Mexico, with England reaching the quarterfinals. And I will say this, that infamous match against Argentina at the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. So apart from Maradona's hand of God goal, oh dear, dreadful, there was also the goal of the century, also scored by Maradona to put Argentina 2-up in the game. But the goal of the century was where Maradona waltzed past 5 England players. And one was Terry Butcher, by the way. And one of those players was you, Terry, too. I mean, please tell us more about that moment. A sensational goal in many respects, but disastrous for England.
A few things here. I mean, recognising back in the day, the linesman couldn't make a decision on the field. He could only give you offside.
Yep.
Let the Purish flag up offside, and that was it. Throw-ins, that was it. So the referee couldn't see the hand of God. Maradona handled the ball.
Yes.
I was right in between Schultz and Maradona. I saw everything, and I was the one that chased the referee right back to the halfway line. All the way back to the halfway line, the referee was looking at the linesman, but the linesman couldn't make any decisions for him.
Yes, that's true.
We all knew it was offside, and the goal stood. That was offside. That should have been on to the next. England, on to the next semi-finals. We could have won the World Cup.
Yeah, I believe we were a good side that year, to be fair, as well. And when Gary Lineker pulled one back to make it 2-1, I felt like England were in the ascendancy. We could have gone on and got a draw and gone to added time. But
I thought we had a better team than Argentina.
I think so.
Including the goalkeeper, they had 9 outfield players that were just there to win the ball back. And when they won it back, give it to Maradona. Now, there's no doubt in my mind, he, for me, is the world's best ever player. He was as wide as he was tall. He was a strong bastard. You couldn't knock him off the ball. I elbowed him. I boshed him 3 or 4 times. He went off in the second half for 4.5 minutes. And when I'd hit him, I thought, that's him done. He's out. Only to see him warming up after 3 or 4, and he came back on the field. Now, what people are not seeing from the game itself, that goal, the second goal he scored, which everybody still sees as the best ever goal scored in world football competitions, we were in shock. The whole England team, if you look at that goal again, we were all over the place.
Yeah, you were.
Sanson was up in left wing. Big Butt playing left back. I was in a big lump of space in the middle. We were all over the place. We were still in shock. How can we be 1-0 down?
Yes.
Because of this handball, and we're in the quarterfinals of the World Cup, for God's sake.
Disgusting, wasn't it?
Full house. All of the crowd saw it. Everybody saw what had happened, and the 2 officials couldn't make a decision on it. And now that second goal came within 6 minutes of the hand of God.
It did come, yeah. I agree with you.
So that was us still
in shock,
mentally trying to get over what had just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing, I interviewed Terry Butcher actually on stage. I think it was at Lowestoft Town Football Club in 2018. Nice audience, good fun, a great night. Yeah. And I did say to Terry on the night, I said, Terry, I've got this picture in my mind. There's you sat on your derriere on the green baize of the Azteca pitch, in Mexico City. You had your head in your hands, and this diminutive little figure was running past you. And he looked at me, and you could see him scowling at me. It's quite funny. That's Butch. And I said, Diego Maradona, perhaps you'd like to stand up and tell the audience what you thought about that. And he stood up and he looked at the audience. I won't say the words he used because we're recording the show now, but he basically said he just didn't like, on safety terms, Maradona. And he said he would never speak to him when he saw him at events. He'd ignore him. There's a real hatred. And it's a shame, really, because Maradona obviously is past now. So
when you look back at that, I mean, this is not just Butch. Diego Maradona.
Peter Schultz is the same.
Listen to this one. At the end of the game, Diego Maradona come to exchange his shirt with me.
Huh?
And I went, no, and I walked off the field. Only for years later, that same shirt to be sold for £7 million.
Yeah, I read that story last year.
Steve Hodge.
Yeah.
Maradona came to Terry Fenwick. I was the one that was watching him all game,
Yes.
trying to take his mind off the match. But this was a genius.
Oh.
And he could have the row, he could have the fight. But then when he had the ball, he had that genius on the ball. It was like stuck to that left foot. He couldn't get it.
Maradona was without doubt a fantastic artistic football player. I mean, he was
Incredible.
quite short, wasn't he? So he had that low trajectory to the ground, perfect for what he was doing.
Strong.
He was strong, solid, ball stuck to his feet.
This is a guy that went to Barcelona. They weren't any more than mid-table.
Yeah.
Won the La Liga. He went across there to Italy, Napoli.
Absolutely.
Napoli weren't on the map.
No, they weren't.
They still today hold Maradona as the biggest legend in Napoli because he took them to win the title in Italy. Then he won the '86 World Cup. This guy was immense. He was unbelievable.
The 1990 World Cup as well, didn't he? 4 years later, they won it again.
Yes.
I mean, I was at the Azteca stage with Mexico City in 2020 and 2021 because I lived out in Mexico for 2 years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. Lived in Mexico City for 2 years. Part of my travels, it's all good fun. And there is a plaque on the wall outside the main entrance at the Azteca that immortalizes the goal of the century at the stadium. A memory really forever in keeping, it seems. So that's never going to go away, is it? That 5 England player turnaround, Maradona 2-0.
That's always, listen, that's the whole world. The last time we won the World Cup was in '66.
Exactly.
The whole world laugh at us because of that, and they see all the top players we've got, but there's always something that lets us down. Over the last decades, it's been penalty shootouts after penalty shootouts, and we get
bad refereeing decisions as well, golden goals that shouldn't be disallowed.
We've had more than our fair share of them. Even with VAR, you think, my God, how's that happened?
Yeah, exactly.
This is England national team. Why haven't we won?
We get scrutinised all the time by the referees, the officials. It's almost like they're put there to make sure we don't progress past the quarterfinals. It's really quite sad.
That's players like myself, and I'm sure even players of today, I must think, my God, why are these up against us? Why are they, don't want us to win nothing?
Oh, you got to blame the Russian referee in the '66 World Cup final, haven't you, at Wembley? That wasn't a goal, was it? I don't think that crossed the line, but the Russian referee, obviously against the Germans, he was going to say it did. So you got to blame that really in some ways, but you can't have a whole lifetime of trouble. It's got to equal out, and we've got to get some luck at some point.
So I've got a nice little story about Terry Butcher. In '85, we went across the Azteca and we played Germany in Mexico. And it was a friendly international, 3 teams involved, us, Germany and Mexico themselves. So we're lining up in the tunnel, the Azteca, ready to go out. And all the Germans right next to us lined up. And at the back, which was where Butch was always at, Terry Butch was at the back. Whatever you do, don't mention the war. So we're all, our shoulders, there's no noise, but our shoulders are laughing like, and of course the Germans looking at us, what's going on here? We beat them that day 3-0. This was the year before, '86.
Yeah.
But that was, my God, I look at, not just in my era, but several. Beckham had a hard time.
He did.
And, sending us up against Simeone, which was rubbish.
That was terrible.
Yeah. And we've had all of them. We've had goals across the line that have not been allowed or cancelled or what.
Exactly. And in that game against Argentina, when Simeone was sent off, when Beckham was sent off against Simeone, that was the game when we did score a golden goal in extra time to win the match, and the referee didn't give it.
Didn't give it. That was big.
Central defender.
Yes.
I forget his name now. Campbell. Sol Campbell.
Yeah. Sol Campbell.
And whilst we were celebrating,
they disallowed it. I couldn't believe it. And the more they replayed it, the more it stood. The goal should have stood.
Exactly. And
they won it.
And whilst we were celebrating the England team, of course, and the supporters, they broke away and almost scored at the other end. You can't make it up, can you, really, Terry?
We've had oh my God, here I am in Trinidad and Tobago, and they all know when England are playing, it's coming home. They pump it out. Now, it's not a song that I want to hear anymore. I
No.
want us to win and win something.
Exactly.
But everybody here knows Terry so well. They play that sound,
Yes.
football norm, to ridicule.
Yeah.
Wine me.
And it is, and it probably does wind you up too.
That works.
But you did go on to make 20 appearances for England, of course, up until 1988. Are there any games apart from what we just talked about in particular that spring to mind, Terry?
Well, I'd like to come back to one of my very early ones. England under 21s. We were the first English side to win the European Championship.
Yep.
We beat Germany in the final, home and away. That was a wonderful team. Dave Sexton was in charge. Terry Venables was his assistant. Some wonderful players that I still touch base with today. Your Sammy Lees and oh my God.
Yeah, great players.
And when I look back at big Justin Fashner, who sadly has passed, obviously, but some characters that over your career, you come across some wonderful people.
You do.
And I like to reach out to them today, if you don't mind. Give them all my love. Nice people. Keep going. Keep out there. Do your best for your kids, your communities.
Absolutely.
Fantastic people.
Very good thing to say. It's a good statement, Terry. Well done. Absolute pleasure to have that on the show. Well done. Brilliant.
My pleasure.
And after retiring as a player, you moved into football management. And in 1995, you replaced Jim Smith, oh, here's a name to be conjured with, as manager at Portsmouth after a poor first full season in charge, during which the club only avoided relegation on goal difference. But an improved second season saw Portsmouth miss out on a playoff spot by one place. That's disappointing. So what was the switch like into football management? What was it like, Terry, from a footballer to become a manager?
It was, I think I was quite well prepared because of Terry.
Yeah.
Terry recommended me for the job, and he was the guy I would bounce off. And when I went to Portsmouth had an aging team. Some good players of the past, and I had to clean house. So that first, I got there, stopped them from being relegated. They were in the bottom two when I went there.
Yep.
We cleared fairly quickly. In the next season, yes, we did struggle, but we struggled because I brought players like Paul Hall, Dion Burton, Darryl Powell, all of these kids through. Them same three guys played internationally for Jamaica and went to the World Cup in France. I brought some great young players in,
yes,
and it took a bit of time. The following season, we should have made the playoffs. We were the best, in the best position. We were ahead of everybody. We were on a good run. And then we had 2 games where decisions went against us. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And the same thing again, sometimes you think people have got it in for you. And we lost out. We didn't make the playoffs, but we had a great young side.
Mm.
And most of them went on to be internationals for different countries here and there.
Great story, really, isn't it, to be honest? Great story. The famous Pompey Bells.
Yeah.
Pompey.
Play
Pompey. That's
and
it.
they're great fans down there.
They are.
Good support. Yeah. I mean, my God, we went to George Graham's Leeds United and we beat them in the FA Cup. 5th round, or might have been the quarterfinals.
Yes.
And we beat them 3-2 at Ellen Road. And this was the crowd recognising we've got a team here. And this was with Bradbury up front, Svensson, Paul Hall, Dion Burton. We had some top young players.
Yes.
And all of a sudden they were starting to believe in themselves and they were coming through. And Terry and I sat in the director's box that day, the game. And he gave me a little nudge just before I went down for my half-time team talk. And he went, "This is a good team, Terry.
Mm.
This is a good young side. You've got some good players here. Something to work with." And we beat George Graham's team that were fighting for the Division 1 / Premier League title.
That's a good accolade from a great man, isn't it?
3-2. Yeah, wonderful. That was. And, management's not easy because you've got to deal not just with players, the fans, the press.
Mm.
You've got to keep a level head all the time. But I think because of people like Terry Venables, Malcolm Allison, the same George Graham people that I grew up with as a player, and then into coaching these people. I knew I could pick the phone up to them at any time. I had that experience and knowledge behind me. I thought it was good.
Yeah, and of course, you've also got to deal with the owners and the board as well, isn't it? It's across the whole club you've got to deal with.
Of
As you
course,
say, it's a big job.
but when they fired me at Portsmouth, it was another one where Terry Venables had joined the board as a partner, and the owner, Mr. Martin Gregory, got on great with Terry. Knew him from his Queen's Park Rangers there. Jim Gregory was the chairman at Queen's Park Rangers. They bought Portsmouth. Jim passed away. His son Martin took over. Martin was a nice but very quiet guy. But he fell out with Terry. And when he fell out with Terry, the first thing he done was got rid of me because of my relationship with Terry. So I was gone.
You were gone. That's how football works sometimes. Because in 1998, you followed Terry Venables to Crystal Palace, where you served as assistant manager back at the Palace, Terry, with good friend Terry Venables. I mean, how did that go back at Palace where it started?
That was brilliant because he brought in some wonderful players, Terry. And it was another recognition. The team, the players, the fans, everybody could see the club moving forward. Everybody seemed to be on the same page, which can, as you've just mentioned, be very difficult in football. If you're not fighting the fans, you're fighting the board, you're fighting the trouble and problems in the dressing room.
You are.
But Terry had everything working behind the scenes like a well-oiled machine. Everything was brilliant, and we were getting good results. But again, at boardroom level, they couldn't see eye to eye.
Yes.
And it was like, come on, the club's moving in the right direction. Give the man some support. And unfortunately, they didn't.
It happens all the time. There's been a lot of those stories, Terry, isn't there?
Within 6 months, we were out.
Yeah, sad. And may I mention here as well, that made Terry Venables forever rest in peace, of course, because it was a huge shock to us all when Terry passed in November last year. I mean, not just in sporting terms, he was known outside of sport too. A massive shock, wasn't it? He was such a character.
I couldn't speak. I had plenty of UK newspapers on the phone, wanted to comment on that. I couldn't talk. It came as such a shock to me. This is my mentor, the guy that brought from the northeast of England.
Yeah, your confidant.
To London, as a 15-year-old. I was, tears.
Yes, I can
all
imagine.
His family, I know the two daughters, it was such a shock to me. I knew he hadn't been well. I believe he was suffering from dementia. And I'd spoken only weeks beforehand with Barry Silkman. And Barry had bounced off of him. So Silk's what's he like? Then he wasn't too clever. 1 minute he's sharp as a tack, Terry. The next minute he's forgetting things. So
sad.
Kim, my God, 82 he was.
80, I think, 81, 82, yes, he was. I think 80. Yeah, he was over 80, wasn't he? 80, 81, I think.
Very sad.
Very sad indeed. Then, of course, in 2000, 2001, in a remarkable turn of events, I have to say, you were canvassed by an Asian businessman and coerced to become the new public face of beleaguered non-league outfit Southall. It led to fellow Queen's Park Rangers teammate Mike Thillery, and of course, an ex-Chelsea player too, being installed to take charge of first-team affairs before you were both ousted amid a debacle surrounding the club's ownership. Oh, this is some story, Terry, isn't it? What happened?
Yeah. Well, there you go. I knew the ownership off the field. They were good. They approached me. I used to guide them for probably 18 months, 2 years beforehand. I was giving them good information. And then they wanted me on side. But then in the same dressing room, in the same club, you had board members clashing with each other. And of course, that's what you get. You get some will side with the manager, some will side against. And they couldn't understand that the club was moving in the right direction. It's bigger than us. And you see, I even have these issues today here in little Trinidad and Tobago, where I am constantly reminding owners, management, officials, it's not about us. It's about the kids.
Yes.
It's about the players. It's how we put our time and effort into them to make sure they're successful, makes our club successful, then we can all enjoy it moving forward.
Fully
We
agree.
can't be fighting each other.
I fully
And
agree.
that's where we are. Look at some of the big clubs we've seen in the UK
Oh,
and in England that have gone under. And I
yes.
think, my God, what on earth's happened there?
I mean, you get all that in these top clubs, don't you? As we've talked about before, boardroom disputes.
Yeah,
The same antics to divide and conquer and all this kind of thing going off at small non-league
absolutely.
sides. It's no good for those clubs, is it? It really isn't. Um,
It's not. And you see, I would have to say it here. Some of these people that are coming into football, fantastic. A lot of them are billionaires.
yeah,
But what knowledge have they actually got of the game?
they don't have much
Our,
knowledge.
our biggest managers in all time, and this is not just Englishmen, they've all been man managers, people
Yes,
who their team, their dressing room, the best. They look after
absolutely.
them first. So they get the best response from them. And then when they're out in the public domain, they always get on with the fans because that's in their heart.
Of course it is.
We're getting to there. My God, forgive me in advance for mentioning Chelsea. We've got
Mm,
this guy that spent a fortune, but he's got all sorts of riffs going on. Manchester United are the same riffs in the dressing room,
yeah,
players clashing with each other. Why? Because now it's not about these man managers, it's about stats. It's about all of this technical work off the field,
you're
in
absolutely
behind
correct.
closed doors, and you've got players and management not getting on.
No, exactly
Doesn't
right.
make any sense.
And you haven't got apart from a couple of managers I can think of or coaches, you haven't got that quality that we were talking about earlier on.
But
With Terry Venables and Malcolm Allison, that quality doesn't exist, does it, as English people anymore? They're not
not at
around.
all. I'm disappointed in it because I see them as God laying the groundwork out there for the rest of us.
Mm,
And what we've done, we've gone technical. We've gone into other areas. Everything now, your stats. The Americans have brought that to the table in all of their sports. We're going that route ourselves. It's going to kill the game.
yeah.
I'm reading this week that we're now going to have a blue card,
Oh, I've read that.
and potentially we could have a player sent off the field for 10 minutes. That's
Yes.
rubbish.
Oh, it's not
That's
going to
not
work.
what this game. That's not what this game's about. And the
So can,
fans won't say that.
Oh, exactly. We're having this problem actually with VAR at the moment. To bring that is a real killer because you can imagine you've got two players that just do something wrong,
Yeah,
answer the referee back or whatever it is, go off for 10 minutes, blue carded, and another one gets blue carded. All that team's going to do is park the bus, two
yeah.
banks of four at the back. That's going
Kill
to
the game.
destroy the game.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
ridiculous.
over my career, I've played against the Roy Keanes, the Brian
Mm,
Roxtons, the Steve Bruces. They're
exactly.
characters of the game.
Oh, of course they
Gaza.
are. Oh,
And, and, and these rules and regulations that they're presenting now are killing these talented players
they are.
and pushing them to one side. That's wrong.
It is totally wrong. Now, I could drop back a bit as well, because you mentioned Chelsea in this conversation a few moments ago,
Yeah.
about chairman of clubs and stuff. And I can remember the Mears family formed Chelsea in 1905. And they
Yes.
owned the Chelsea Football Club all the way through to the mid-'80s when Brian Mears, the last Mears chairman,
I am
sold the club to Mr. Bates, Ken Bates.
Ken Bates, yes.
So
12
all that
12,000
history,
pounds.
that's right, yes. Well, he bought the club for £1, didn't he?
Or did he?
And yeah, I bought it for £1 and accepted all the ongoing debts and things.
Right.
You don't get that anymore, do you? The ownership and the
You know, I mean, he's done a great thing. And, the Russian that came in beyond him,
oh,
again,
brilliant.
done some good things, yeah. Brought good managers in, all of that. Didn't hang around when results weren't going the right way. Quick change.
Quick
But
change.
that's the sport that we're in.
It
But
is.
when I look at how it is today, my God, I see some of the managers that have been appointed and I'm thinking, trouble,
Yeah.
trouble.
You can read the
And you
headlines,
see,
can't you?
yeah, and the fans are still fans. They want to see their team doing well. They want to see
Of
good
course they
players.
do.
They want to engage on and off the field.
It's a
And I,
results business.
yeah,
And players used to travel on the buses, underground trains with the supporters to go
yeah,
to matches on a Saturday, didn't they? That happened quite regularly.
correct.
That doesn't happen anymore. So that
No,
there's a disconnect, isn't there, now between players and supporters? And that's visible now, isn't it? Very visible. And of course, players don't stay at clubs very long. There's another problem. So not
you,
enough
I mean,
time to actually gel.
correct. The times I've had on the M1, M6,
Yes.
we're pulled in for a pee, and we've met all the fans on the way up to the game, or visit or at some other clubs, and the camaraderie is unbelievable. It's fantastic.
It is.
Everybody's out the line before you. I've missed all that. Missed all that.
Yeah, nah, that camaraderie. That's what it was all about. The emotions of the football match on a Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock.
Correct.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And after managing San Juan Jablatek, hope I pronounced that right, where you won the Trinidad and Tobago Pro League in back-to-back seasons, you returned to England to take charge of Northampton Town. But so firstly, how was your time at San Juan Jablatek, and what happened at Northampton Town as well? But San
So
Juan first.
what happened there was the wealthiest guy in the Caribbean was a guy called Lawrence Dupre, and he ran a company called CL Financial, which turned into Clough, which is still very prominent within the Caribbean region.
Right.
He bought a distillery here in Trinidad and Tobago. He then bought 3 distilleries in Scotland,
Mm.
and each of them distilleries had shareholdings in Glasgow Rangers. So
Oh.
overnight, it become a second biggest shareholder in Glasgow Rangers. So he was introduced to me through a friend of Terry Venables. God, what was it? Ted Buxton.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Buxton was Terry Venables' chief scout. And to be honest, mate, I came down to the Caribbean for a week's holiday in the winter to meet these people, have a bit of sunshine, sit on the beach, enjoy myself before going back to the cold weather.
Mm.
And I met some lovely people,
Yes.
some real top people. They looked after me. It was very basic. I could see that the league down here was nothing more than a development league.
Mm.
So I saw the potential, what needed to be done. And it wasn't just with our club, but it was with the whole league itself and how people were thinking about football. And of course, they had people like Dwight York, Russell Latterby,
You did.
is locked down here. So they had some great talent on the ground, no development programs. My San Juan Jablet here, out of 8 teams in the league first season, we came 5th out of 8.
Mm.
And we had the second oldest team. Most of the players were in their early 30s.
Wow.
Now, what I did was I cleaned house, brought all these kids in, and my team in the second season I was there, average age was 17, 18.
Nice.
And we won the league, hands down. And all of these kids were automatically projected into the national team. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they qualified for the 2006 World Cup. And out of the squad of 24 players, 12 of them were from my San Juan Jablet here.
Wow. That's a great
So
story.
that was 2 of them actually started in the team, Sid Greer and Otis Whitley.
Brilliant.
But all the rest, that players, the Bren Sanchos that went to Scotland, Kelvin Jacks, all of these players had come through my development, and we got them contracts outside, mainly in Scotland because of our contacts in Scotland. But wonderful, moving it on. But you see, you then get to a stage where, and this is over recent years, I took over the national team. I'm actually still the only coach that was undefeated in competitive games.
You'll come on to that.
I made the mistake, and I still would have done exactly the same thing. Through COVID, when nobody was doing anything, I was still coaching my players 3 days a week, all over Trinidad and Tobago. We were playing against regional teams, so I could see the other kids that are out in different communities. So if they were than what I already had, I'd bring them in, I'd exchange, I'd do things like that. I then agreed to the game in the USA because I couldn't see any of the players up there. So what I did was I had the team for 1 week's training, 5 days before the game against the USA. Now, recognising that the USA, under the current coach, had 5, possibly 7 years development, and they were producing some fantastic players, I had a week to see these kids from the US that I'd never seen before. And I couldn't get information. I couldn't see them on TV. The TV wasn't covering their MLS stroke USL games. So I was getting them on the training ground, see what they're about, and throw them in the deep end. We got beat 7-0.
Yes.
So we got beat 7-0, but what a lot of people will not understand or see, we were 6-0 down at half time while I was watching 7 players from the US that I'd never seen before. First time I'd seen them in a game situation. We conceded 6 goals. In the second half, I put all these youngsters on from Trinidad and Tobago that's been training with me 3 days a week. We get beat in the second half by the 1 goal and we miss a penalty. We missed a penalty. That might have drawn the second half. So it told me the youngsters I had on the ground were better than what I was looking at from the US.
Yeah.
But I would never have known that if I didn't take the gamble.
And
So I took the gamble, and of course, I'm an Englishman. I'm a white Englishman here in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm proud of that. I'm not standing for anybody. A lot of people on the ground want to see their own people, and that sometimes is race. Okay, get on with it. They pulled me out of the position. All of them saying kids. The first person they come back to was Terry. I've got 197 players, professional contracts outside of Trinidad and Tobago from Trinidad.
yes.
I've got 7 scholarships in the United States from kids that have come through my development programs. I know I've done this, people on the ground here, not even close to that. Football clubs, not even close to that.
No, they're not.
But it's what we do. That's we structure, we organise, we get things done. And some wonderful stories here in Trinidad because we were a British colony.
Indeed.
And in all of the infrastructure, everything here comes from the British. Oil and gas was huge here. Trinidad was the biggest powerhouse in the Caribbean region. What have they done? Since taking control of their own country, they've cut off oil and gas. So literally across the road in Guyana, they're booming while we're going downhill. It's mismanagement.
It is indeed.
But of course, we're colonials. They don't want us back.
No, exactly. Well, to take back over again.
The good things that we produced.
Indeed.
School, all top class. Getting kids out overseas, and outside. People don't see the good things that we Brits can bring to the table. I network with everybody in the US, network with everybody at the FA to do good things for here.
Yes,
not
essential.
Good for the kids.
And of course, getting onto this now, since 2015, Terry, you've been the technical director of Football Factory Trinidad. I mean, is this associated with the Football Fun Factory that Luke Chadwick represents here in the UK? I mean, either way, I'm sure it's a truly fulfilling role to undertake. I mean, working with youngsters.
This is something I took on board. I opened Football Factory here in Trinidad.
Brilliant.
As a development program for youngsters. Now, recognising where we are, crime, shootings, problems, and it's all black on black kids. This was me, and it's not just the kids. This is the misparenting, lack of parenting. So my Football Factory, we were up to about 180, 190 kids per session with parents coming to watch their kids. We're now down to 50, 60 kids because when I started that up, we were the only development program. Now they're all over Trinidad and Tobago because of the success of Football Factory, which I'm fine with. It's good. It's good for the kids.
Of course.
And I don't just work on, it's a social development program. Not many of these kids are going to make professional footballers. I've actually got 2 going up to Queen's Park Rangers in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, that's nice.
So that's nice, yeah. But it's about making these kids better rounded individuals.
I agree with you.
And not just the kids. I've got a WhatsApp group for the parents. I'm mentoring the parents as well. Because these parents have got to recognise their kids can't be stood on a street corner talking to gang members, and then you don't expect them and they fall into the wrong hands, and then the next minute they're dead.
Yes, very sad.
These are the social things that I'm doing behind the scenes.
Well, that's quite magical, isn't it? That's magical.
Yeah. I've got more sponsors than the national team because they see what I'm doing, how I'm trying to mentor these youngsters and parents. A lot of these kids' parents are young people.
Mm.
These are people that have had kids that have had children while they're 16, 17-year-olds. And they can't afford to pay for anything. So I sponsor them. I bring them into my academy. So it's not just the little players that are getting it. It's the
Yes.
parents as well.
It's win-win, isn't it?
We do lots of team building. We take them on treks, cross countries. We do running, exercise. We do all sorts of things that are team building for the youngsters and the parents and all of my coaches.
Incredible.
So I love it. I should be getting more support for it. I'm speaking at the moment to the British High Commission because they love it as well. And it's something you can see. I've got everything goes out on your Facebooks and Twitters and whatever else now.
Yes, all the
TikTok,
social media.
all your social media. So people can see it happening, seeing what we're doing. It's not bullshit. It's not talk, which is what you get in the region, unfortunately. People can talk, but very rarely follow through and do as they say. Fenwick, the Englishman, everything I put myself out there for, I've done.
Yeah, I have.
And I've done it not for my benefit, I've done it for other people. So,
That's a great story, Terry. I
yeah,
mean, once this show's published, get it out to all your friends, colleagues,
of course,
family, and
absolutely.
British High Commission, for example, because there's some great stories in here that people,
Yes.
need to understand about Terry Fenwick. What a great man you are, great footballer,
Oh,
great
thank you
man,
very much.
gentleman,
Thank
and all these good things, because you are, an amazing
Well,
gentleman.
you see, and this, here we are in Trinidad and Tobago, and I got on with a guy. Jack Warner was seen
Yes.
outside of Trinidad and Tobago. He was seen as very badly in football terms as a thief or this, that, and the other. I got on well with Jack. He done some great things for Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm,
And you see, everything that I do, I contract. Everything's got to be proper. I'm English, British.
yes, you
This
are.
is what, and they don't like that because they were fighting me down on my contract with the TTF here, but they automatically let over 100 people with letters of intent that don't stand up in court. They paid them all off
Wow.
because it's friends of friends of friends.
That's how they operate, isn't it?
Fenwick, who had a proper contract through senior council, done it properly. They don't want to honour that one, but I'm in court with that. So that's coming up actually next month.
Okay.
But
Best of luck.
I'm trying to, not just with people in football, with family, with my football factory people, and we call it football factory family. Whatever you do, document it. So when you have your fallout, which you will, you can always come back to that piece of paper. And
Yeah.
this is what we started. This is what we've got to get back to. And this is how we move forward
That's your
together.
governance, isn't it? So you structure your governance around what you're delivering, because there's always going to be change and movement.
And
It's
here
and
where we
values.
are, you've not got much of that. So you've got, whether it's sport, politics, you've got everybody falling out.
Yeah, I quite
And
agree.
most of it's because they haven't done the right due diligence in the beginning.
I quite agree. And, we've got to that point now. We're about an hour and 20 in. Can you believe that, Terry?
That's gone over, hasn't it?
It's been a fantastic chat. I've really enjoyed it. I really have.
Thank you. Me too.
It's been great chats, a solid chat. And as always, of course, on the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show, we could talk forever, Terry, and I know we could, about your life as a top professional football player, and of course your continued interest in football and this amazing journey you're now doing in Trinidad and Tobago. That's fantastic. So thank you, Tony, for coming onto the show and talking about your professional life in football. It's been a huge pleasure as always, and as always, the pleasure is all mine. And of course, the show's audience when the podcast is released on the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show and my Lord Russell YouTube channel as well. So thank you, Terry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you Terry Fenwick. There's a big round of applause going on here.
My pleasure.
But it's been an absolutely great show, a fantastic chat. Do you mind just staying on for a couple of minutes whilst I wrap up? So just a quick catch up.
Absolutely.
Perfect. The next episode on the World of Lord Russell podcast talk show is The Magic of Monaco, where my special guest will be Anthony Osmond Evans. Anthony Osmond Evans is best known for his stunning coffee table books, including China the Beautiful, The Magic of Monaco, the title of this show, of course, The Spirit of London, and the 2012 Olympics, along with the late Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee. His books, which have sold over 100,000 copies to date, document the history and aesthetic of locations around the world, featuring Anthony Osmond Evans' writing and mainly his own photography. Not forgetting a wonderful story with Dame Shirley Bassey. Whilst in the south of France, when they both sang My Way together, I won't say what happened, that's going to be on the show, the title of my autobiography, of course, but more about this amazing story on the show, as I've just said. Anthony is a mixture of an English gentleman, entrepreneur, and a true artiste. Anthony's incredible life also includes entertaining the heads of industry to documenting some of the most beautiful destinations in the world. Anthony Osmond Evans has built an enviable career for himself, a blend between good fortune and old-fashioned hard work. Has seen Anthony, the writer, photographer, and publisher, travel the world and rub shoulders with legends along the way. And of course, I met Anthony, guess where? Kingsley Town Football Club in 2022. Fantastic. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the inside. So until then, it's au revoir from him and au revoir from me.